Before we start, I'd ask our panelists to take their seats on the floor. Mr. Ivan Vrdoljak, Croatian Minister of Economy. Mr. Ditmir Bushati, Albanian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Nikola Popovski, Macedonian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mrs. Vera Mavric, State Secretary in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Serbia. Mr. Viktor Majko, Deputy Minister in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. And Mr. Fabrizio Barbazo, Deputy Director General, DG Energy in European Commission. So the topic of the second panel is the EU's energy security and the Southern Gas Corridor. We've heard in our previous panel that diversification in sources is vital for the EU's energy security, providing that there is an alternative, that the EU is not dependent on one source or route. That is why the Southern Gas Corridor is important for the EU. It should connect the European Union and gas resources in Caspian region, primarily in Azerbaijan. So my questions for our panelists is, how does your government look on the Southern Gas Corridor in the context of energy security, and what is the importance of that for your country? First, Mr. Vrdoljak.
Thank you very much. At the beginning, I will take a few minutes just to explain about not just South Corridor, about a few other topics of the very important strategic energy topics in the region. Everything started and ending with the competitiveness of the industry of the country. There is few topics about education, labor, technology, innovations, but any case, the energy is one of the key competitive topic in Europe, in the world, whatever. Two things about the energy in the region. One is diversification of the sources, and second is price. It's very logical, it's nothing new. What Croatia wants to see in the region and wants to support it. There is no energy strategy of each country without the region, especially in this region. We all are too small. We all are not big enough to have some unique energy strategy, and there is a much bigger influence of the region and the countries surrounding than you can do it in domestic market. I can explain that with the numbers. Today, Croatia producing about 50% of gas in territory of Croatia. Demands that we have it, consumption that we need it. About 20% of the oil we're producing in Croatia. This year, first 6 months, we import about 7% of electrical energy. It's good number, not because we have wonderful strategy of energy, but because it was lots of rain. And hydro potential this year is very good. For example, 2 years ago, 40% was import of electrical energy in Croatia because it was not so good hydro potential. In that situation, we're going in a, let's say, free, and probably a lot more than free, but free key issue in the future. One is the new exploration on Adriatic offshore and onshore. The things that what we're expecting in this project is that we will have it few times more gas in Croatia than we need it. Why it's so optimistic? Because of the data that we have it from the Italian side of Adriatic Sea and exploration in the last 20 years. The data that we have it from oil and gas company and seismic company who do it now, the seismic data. And all of them have very good reason to expect it, that the gas that we found it from the Italian side of the Adriatic Sea, we can expect it even from Croatian side. Maybe a little more or a little less, but anyway, it will be a few times more than Croatian consumption today is. Second thing is the strategic project of LNG. It's on the first phase we planned it just 5 BCM, but it seems like it's not so big because the consumption in north from Croatia, in Hungary, Ukraine, Austria, Slovakia, the minister from Slovakia mentioned it, LNG, it's much bigger than those 5 BCM, but we must do it. We can expand it to the 15, and it's the way how you make diversification of the sources of the region and control the price of the other sources. Because if there is no other sources, probably you cannot control the price. It's the key issue. And LNG, we must do it with a regional partner. It's not a Croatian project. It must be a strategic project of this part of Europe, with support of European Commission, the strategic global partners. And in that case, the LNG has some good future, not with just 5 BCMs, in the future with 15 in some middle term period. The third thing is the South Corridor. And I must say thank you to all ministers. That was 7 days, I think. We had a conference in Zagreb about IAP, and we're discussing about what is the interest of each country, Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia, and Croatia, about IAP project. And ministers, politicians says it's a big issue for all of us. We wanted to do it. We wanted to put it first in the first phase of the tap construction, because there is no reason to wait for finishing the tap and then start it with IAP. It's enough time to prepare all documentation. The Croatia built it already, half of those corridor. And I think that we can do it with support of the Brussels to put it in the first phase of construction of the tap. Second big issue that we must discuss in next period is what is amount for IAP, because it's going lower and lower. TANAP takes from Azerbaijan, from Caspian gas, one big part. TAP takes one big part, and there is left approximately not more than 2 BCMs for IAP in the first phase of that South Corridor project, let's call it. Second phase with the new fields on Caspian Sea, and probably it will be much bigger. But now, when you make calculation, you make it about 2 BCMs that you can transport through the IAP corridor. The countries that goes, and the colleagues will say more goes, the IAP should go, they don't have gas today. Montenegro, south part of Bosnia, Albania, those north part of Albania. And there is, of course, that they don't have consumption today on this territory. And if you build it such expensive projects, such expensive pipeline, it must be in a business model that we must look at in a long-term period with the partners who have the gas, with the Soccer or Chardonnays or TAP, whatever. We are open for discussion with those guys. But for Croatia, it's very important. All 3 of those topics that I said it in gas and oil business, it's very important to push it, all 3 of them. Because if we wanted to see it, Caspian gas in nearly future in Croatia, Bosnia, even Hungary, or Baumgartner, it can be only with IAP. In the long term, for 15 years, maybe some other ways is open. But it's 6-7 years, it's only way to bring the gas from the Caspian Sea and Chardonnay's blocks is through the IAP corridor, through this region and country in the region. How to put the business model? In the future, it will be at least 5 BCMs or 7. You must bring the money that must support it with the companies in the region, in transportation of the gas, or the countries, or the consortia who have the gas. You cannot build it, the pipes with 1 or 2 BCMs. It's not good with the long-term period. It's not good for the future. You must do it bigger investment that will use it partly in the first period, first 10 years or 5 years. In that case, it's not so easy, it's so hard to find the real business model that it's going on with the third energy package in the European Union and to do it, the project in that way. But we will do it anything to find this business model, to find with the partners from Albania, Montenegro, even Bosnia, to push it in the first line of TAP construction. One more thing at the end, the Bosnian. We had this discussion 7 days ago, and the first suggest of the corridor was avoid the Neum, this part of Bosnia that goes on the Adriatic Sea. The feasibility study says that it's cheaper to go around. But there was some question on the press that why we avoid Bosnian from the IAP projects. It's impossible to, nobody wants to avoid Bosnia. It's very important for Bosnia to bring the gas, because Bosnia today have the only one pipeline from the northeast, and I think that we all wanted to do it the south part or middle part or western part of Bosnia have the gas. We can do it through transportation system of IAP, and after that makes the all next steps in that region of the Bosnia. For Croatia, when we push all those 3 projects, Croatia became the strategic hub, energy hub of this region. And we cannot be hub if we don't have consumption and partners in the region. Will different way of cooperation on business model in the companies, of the government model, of the whatever. There is lots of different ways of cooperation with the surrounding. I think that in the near future, even in 1.5 years, the lots of things that I mentioned today, it will be much clearer, and that Croatia will have very good cooperation with all countries, not just on the IAP. It's very important for us, is a cooperation with Hungary to bring the LNG or the IAP or the new exploration gas from Adriatic Sea in Hungary and tomorrow in Ukraine. And we are really, really open for all kind of strategic, regional energy strategy in the future, and the position and the will and the project that we have give it our opportunity to do it a very good job about the diversification and price of the energy in the future in the region.
Minister, before we move on, if you can just briefly answer, you said that for LNG, Croatia needs regional partners.
Yes.
Do you already have some contacts, interest? Is it partners from Balkans or from Central Europe?
There is three topics in LNG. I didn't want to go to the details. One is who will bring the gas, supplier. Second is terminal operation, who will pay to build, to construct the terminal. It's not small money. And second, the consumption. Usually, the demands, the consumption should connect it with the terminal operation, because the risk is divided. The risk, if you have the demands and the consumption, then it's not a problem to build the terminal. And the guys who buy the gas will put the money in the terminal, his partner, whatever. That means that we have lots of contacts, not just in the region about consumption and demands, but in the world with the guys who will supply, the companies who will supply, from Qatar to United States companies, from last few months even Cyprus and Israeli companies who are interested to bring the gas that they founded and they have it in this region. Shell gas, when we build it LNG, the shell gas will be exported from the United States. And we have very good contacts with the States companies, even with the Qatar.
Okay.
That means the contact in the region with Hungarian, Ukrainian, we're discussing about Adriatic pipeline. It's very important from Croatia to Hungary, from Hungary to Ukraine. It's very important for us, for Hungary to Ukraine. All of us wanted to do it, to have one special pipeline to Ukraine for these guys. That means even with Slovenia, and I saw it, the companies from Slovenia.
So there is already interest and talks
big interest in a region.
Yeah.
All region we already talk with, and there is lots of interest. Now is discussing about business model. Last week I get it, the feasibility study is finished, and in next 2 months we will make a road show and preparing the contracts for a business model.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bushati, we've heard that Albania hasn't had no gas grid at all, so I suppose that this STEP project is really crucial for your government. There is already signed agreement between Albania and Greece. Can you say something more about it? What's the current phase of that project?
Thank you very much. It's always nice to be here in Dubrovnik. It's in this very marvelous and historical place. Secondly, I would like to thank the host, Vesna Pusic, for bringing us together, because it's always fun to be part of Southeast Europe. Energy issues, as we all know, have been prominent in the modern day politics, and they encompass economic and strategic interest. And my country is recently full aware of this trend, and I will like to share with you a few objectives of the government, and also to dwell upon TAP and EAP. When it comes to the objectives of our government, the first one is related to the integration of Albanian electro-energetic system with the regional and European systems. This is of a high priority for the reasons you mentioned also in your question. The second is related to the legal and structural reform of the Albanian electro-energetic system and market, thus creating the necessary conditions for the liberalization of the latter and in harmonization with EU acquis and EU standards. The third is the preparation of long-term and efficient strategy for the establishment of an electro-energetic system operationally, technically and financially sustainable, because we have suffered a lot in the past from the lack of sustainability of the system and the lack of infrastructure. And the fourth one, in compatibility with the EU acquis and with energy strategy of the energy community, the government will undertake concrete measures towards the enhancement of electric energy efficiency, as well toward the reduction of technical and non-technical losses in the distribution network. I mean, we have had high losses in the technical and non-technical, often technical and non-technical nature, which has harmed a lot also the service when it comes to the energy. Few things about TAP and the EAP, because yesterday we have been talking about type, and Albania could be labeled as type country due to its geographical location. On Southern Corridor, certainly it's the decision about Trans-Adriatic pipeline. It's a very welcome decision by us, not because we are benefiting from this project, but we believe this is of strategic importance and also economic importance for the whole region. When it comes to Albania, TAP would contribute to several key areas of our economy, such as GDP, creation of new jobs, and contribution certainly also to the treasury. Would create a link between Albania and the regional and gas infrastructure, which does not exist so far. It would develop our infrastructure and promote also substantial foreign direct investments. A very important point has to do with gasification of the country. We see this as an opportunity for transforming Albania into a hub for gasification of the country, and why not of the region. Certainly, we believe it would create also, it would be a campaign with a spillover effect on other sectors of the economy, such as transport, industry, agriculture. And it would increase also the regional and geostrategic importance of the country, while we would continue to support stability and democracy in the region. The same, I believe, applies also for the region and Europe, because in European terms it would increase energy security and diversification of gas supplies for European markets, and would link Middle East and Caspian Sea with Europe. When it comes to IAP, as Minister of Energy knows, we are hosting this energy, the Minister of Energy meeting in Tirana next year in April, and we have been very supportive and very active also in this direction. I'd fully subscribe to his idea that we should work in parallel, so we should not adopt this wait-and-see approach. Wait TAP to be finalized and then start thinking and having first actions about IAP. So we are a type country, and we would continue to work on that direction, and our ambitions are a little bit higher. We would like to involve also Serbia and Kosovo in one of, to be part of pipeline connections with these projects, and we would welcome and we would seek also the assistance of Western Balkan Investment Framework, the feasibility project and other concrete steps in this direction. This memorandum of understanding we have signed with IAP countries need to be transformed into concrete steps, as the minister pointed out. Why I'm saying concrete steps? Because there is a new reality in the region. At least there are no bad news from the region. There are few good news, such as the accession of Croatia to the European Union, the agreement between Serbia and Kosovo, and which was considered something unimaginable a few years ago. We have to be realistic about that. So let's transform this peace into a developmental project for the region. If after the Second World War, France and Germany pulled coal and steel industry together and they decided to transform peace into economic development, we believe it's the right moment also for Southeast Europe, not only for Western Balkan countries, to do the same. Because through energy and gas, we can connect our economies, we can connect people, we can connect our agricultural sector, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Yes, it's true, we have signed also the agreements with the Greek government and Italian government. We are working at a trilateral level, and the same, we are at the very beginning, and the same can be replicated also in the context of IAP countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nikola Popovski, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Macedonia. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts about this TAP project, because Macedonia is currently 100% dependent on Russian gas. So do you see this as an opportunity to maybe connect through Greece to a special pipeline for Macedonia?
very legitimate question. I have to admit that one of the difficulties on being on the last panel is try to avoid to repeat with each of the colleagues that were discussing previously. The vision that I tried to compare was the challenge that we have today when we are looking at the southern corridor is probably the same one or pretty similar one to a person that lived in a rivaling city to Dubrovnik some 7 centuries ago, looking for business opportunities eastwards and thinking how that can change the economic perspective of the then Venetian Republic. I'm meaning about Marco Polo. This is probably the most likely comparison that we would have today when we are reflecting about the southern corridor and how that can change the economics of our region in the future. Probably the most important aspect in this vision is that we're talking about strategy, long term. And in this long term, we have changing priorities and we have changing realities. Priorities-wise, some 50, 60 years ago, people tend to believe that in order to have a prosperous and secure region, you needed to put under same umbrella steel and coal. Today, most likely, people would tend to think that you need to put gas and oil and electricity production under some sort of common umbrella in order to secure this security and prosperity forum. Realities-wise, many people have mentioned, I wouldn't go any deeper, but you have new suppliers, new consumers on one side, and you have new technologies. So shale gas is something that has changed the prices and the way the trade routes, gas and oil would travel in the Western world, but I think globally as well. Nuclear, people have thought about, our Swedish friends were here, but also Belgium, France, Finland are countries that are extremely reliable, relying on nuclear power. So in terms of realities, they might evolve in some places by saying, well, we want to shift away from that, and in some places by increasing these capacities, knowing that some of the questions remain unanswered. There is an environmental concern on practically every single one of the alternatives that we are trying to make favorable in the future. On nuclear power plant, people will argue that even if you don't have a major disaster, you will still increase the water that is cooling through the river while cooling down the nuclear power plant. That might affect the environment. Even on the windmills, there are discussions by saying that unless you put your windmill in the North Sea, you still need few decades before you make your windmill carbon neutral, meaning that you will spend a high amount of energy before you produce that windmill, and then it will take quite a long time before you compensate for that. Going to the micro scale, the legitimate question that you've asked, what's the Macedonian view? We also have certain realities that we need to deal with. Some of them are the fact that our network access is quite limited. So we have gas access to a certain number of industrial sites, but there is practically no household network. And the balance right now is 60 to 40 in favor of, in terms of electricity and energy consumption, in favor industry, in favor to the industry. The other aspect is that we are an extremely open economy. Our exports plus imports are roughly 140% to the GDP, which obliges us to think in larger terms than simply the national ones. And we are extremely dependent on import. 100% of our gas and oil is imported. Even if you go down to the electricity, roughly 2/3 are domestically produced, 1/3 is imported from outside. If you go to the domestic production, 3/4 would be coal production, and 1/5 would be, or 1/5 to 1/4 would be water production. This is where we see the largest potential, and I think in energy production, that's where we are going to make the largest efforts on the longer run. When you're in that kind of situation, you have no production. Very few of us have mentioned that there are exploration efforts being done in their countries. At our side, nothing has been discovered so far. We tend to believe that maybe there are some positive aspects in that, because sometimes you get into trouble to manage an extensive resources disponibility within the country. And we say the second best option probably, if you don't have the resources, would be to rely on the market. That means competition. set some healthy basis, and open up. Open up across the borders. That will create some sort of a competition, and open up across industries. So whether it's gas, oil, or coal, or windmill, or water production, they will compete, and then the market will generate certain solutions. This is the reality in which we live, but as I said, we are relying also on the region. And that's where the Southern Corridor comes into the picture. Regional energy integration is something that we see as a factor of stability and prosperity, the same way as the European community of steel and coal has been seen when the European project has started. This is what we think can be really a factor of increasing stability and prosperity in our region. So we are working hardly on decreasing the importance of borders, cross-border connections, something that we are working on together with our Albanian friends, something that we are working quite extensively also on making better access to other neighbors of Macedonia. We think that this interdependence will increase probably the imports of energy and to some extent, but will create a better climate within the region. We shouldn't think just in terms of how much energy is getting in, how much production is getting out. We should think in terms of maybe you import gas, then you produce catalyzers that in your country, then these catalyzers are going in another country from the region and they produce cars, etc. So we need to see a little bit a larger picture in that context. But the ultimate goal is that by decreasing the importance of the borders and making these interconnections, we will probably be more competitive and we will generate growth. We shouldn't forget that Southeast Europe is part of the European Union. That's today 7% of the world population, but still almost 1/3 of world's wealth. We think that in Southeast Europe we have larger growth rate potential, and that is why I would say energy will become even more important. On one side, because there is very large consumption potential, all of us will consume more energy than what we consume today, and there will be a possibility for becoming a transit region, which is going in one way to give a better leverage to the region for the future. Last but not least, all of us are very small. I mean, the minister just mentioned rightly, we need to think in real terms, what do we represent? And our entire region in terms of economic potential is roughly Belgium, all of us together. That's what we represent in GDP terms. But we still have few assets. We are geographically a cross section. We are very close to Turkey, a large economy that is growing at a very fast rate. We have lower starting point, which means that the growth rate would be very high. And I think that we have higher appreciation of what we have at the moment because we have experienced major troubles in the very recent history. So I think that we appreciate very much when we have certain perspective of this growth. We are small. As a very good American friend of mine puts it very wisely, he says, if you're already small, you better run fast. And I think that this is the key point that we have in this region. By making this, let's say, evolution or changing priority into energy community evolve faster than what it would be in the rest of the regions in the European Union, and that's the only way we can compensate this divergence. I will end up there in order to leave some time also for questions and answers.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Mavric, Serbia is already part of Gazprom's South Stream project. So do you see TAP and possible IIP as a competition or as an opportunity that can be good for Serbian energy security too?
Thank you. I will try to answer your question. First, I would like to emphasize some main issue which I prepared. At the beginning, I would like to congratulate the Croatian government in organizing this forum, which is focused on very important issue that the EU and the region are faced. I'm very grateful that the host of This high-level gathering offers us opportunity to exchange ideas and vision about European energy security. On behalf of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mrkic, who unfortunately has not been able to participate in this event, I would like to convey his warmest regards and the best wishes for successful outcome. So in place of him, he sent two State Secretary, one from the Energy, Ministry of Energy, one from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I don't think that we could replace him, but still is something. Bearing in mind the previous discussion, I am deeply convinced that this forum will greatly contribute in achieving common sense and mutual understanding in this regard. Regional cooperation is the best way to address shared challenges and goals in various areas. Western Balkans cannot stand still waiting for a global condition to improve, but is necessary to build its own future. Dedicated to the good neighbor relations, Serbia has strong position that region as a whole need to do what is necessary to progress to the European Union and must cooperate economically so that we have markets that are viable for investors. It is essential to work on building a solid economic base that protects citizens from the effect of any global financial crisis and generally to create normal and successful relations throughout the region. Current situation is very positive and we have great improvement of regional relation. Cooperation with the countries in the Western Balkans and Southeast Europe is undoubtedly a strategic priority for Serbia. That is why Serbia continues to pay maximum attention to strengthening the good neighbor relation and raising of awareness of these relations to an even higher level. In the energy security area, countries of the Southeast Europe have numerous specific characteristics in terms of their own energy sector, but also have a lot of in common. It means that more successful and better cooperation will significantly contribute to greater energy security in the entire region. Serbia, as well as other countries in the region, has dedicated to contribute to the European Union activities in energy fields by signing the treaty establishing the energy community in October 2005, which came into force 2006. Serbia took over the chairmanship of the Southeast Europe Energy Community on January this year and identified priorities of the chairmanship, further implementation of energy strategy of Southeast Europe Energy Community with the concrete plans for investment and development of infrastructure, preparation of the draft social strategy of the energy community, further steps toward the implementation of a regional action plan for the integration of markets in Southeast Europe, energy security with emphasis on gas interaction and oil reserves. Initiating energy strategy of the energy community of the previous Ministerial Council in October 2012, three objectives were identified: creating competitive, integrating energy markets, attracting investment in energy, providing secure and sustainable energy supply to customers. A council meeting in Belgrade this month, we are expecting adoption of this document. We invite also in that meeting European Commissioner for Energy. He is coming to Belgrade. In Council of Energy Community will be the end of this month, where we speak about energy strategy of European of the energy community. Also, it will also be possibility to discuss about our strategy of Serbia until 2020. Each country of the region cannot have all energy capacity. That means it is necessary to undertake integration through the improved cooperation, various arrangement, and greater integration of energy sector. The aim is to ultimately create single energy market in order to satisfy their energy needs. This integration should be based on the comparative advantages of individual countries in the region and valued through full technical objective optimization of energy sector reforms introduced at the regional level. All intensive cooperation, appropriate coordination and joint ventures with participation of the private sector can benefit to all countries in the region. Energy sector can be cornerstone in improved cooperation between countries in the region, which can influence further process of reconciliation and cessation in the European Union. Regional integration in energy sector should be one of the key issues of the new energy strategy of Serbia, with projection up to 2030. We are preparing this document, and it is expected to be adopted at the end of this year. The basic principles are energy market development, security of supply, sustainable development, new energy capacity with the new, more efficient technologies. The short-term priorities for energy sector development in Serbia till 2015 are economic use of quality energy products and decrease of the energy efficiency, use of renewable energy sources and the new, more energy efficient and environmentally acceptable energy technologies, investment in new power sources with the new gas technologies, long-term development, a regional strategic priority of construction and new energy infrastructure. One thing which you were interesting, it is about South Stream pipeline. It is some crucial project for Serbia, South Stream gas pipeline, as well as underground gas storage in Banatski Dvor and Itebej. It is a key strategic objective of Serbia and the most important international project that Serbia is currently involved in. It will contribute country economic development, ensuring job creation and energy security for the region. South Stream will be connected with pipelines of neighboring country, and it will diversify lines of supply, enable construction of underground gas storages. Also, we speak about pan-European oil pipeline from Constance to Trieste with the interconnection to Transalp oil pipeline. Also, it's important this agreement between Italy and Serbia about electricity energy using hydro potential and also renewable energy sources. I would like also to underline Serbia's willingness to make available its potential and capabilities to energy sector in order to connect the region through energy. It is not just a question of gas, but also other resources like hydro potential, oil shale, interstate interconnection. The main strategic goal is development of alternative energy resources, underlying that Serbia is nuclear-free and prefers green energy. About this TAP project, Serbia is always open for all strategic projects in the region. So I don't think that it is something discussable, because we present our interests, our Minister of Energy, Mihajlović, in July this year. She officially expressed the interest for this also for this project. It depends how the things are going on. It depends on the present infrastructure of the some economic social aspect, and this is something which could be discussed. Also for some other projects we are very open, and because as you can see during my presentation, I mentioned and use a lot of regional cooperation, with this something for Serbia really one of the priorities, not because EU is asking this for us, because we know that for Serbia is important for this region, for stability and prosperity of the Balkans countries.
Thank you very much. Mr. Majko, crisis between Ukraine and Russia in 2009 was a sort of wake-up call for European Union to start to look to speed up alternative resources, and maybe that's the biggest reason for Southern Gas Corridor. What is the situation now? And another thing, in 2011 Ukraine became a member of the Energy Community Treaty. Can we look at that as a first step to common energy market of the European Union, Balkan region and Ukraine?
Thank you. I'm afraid no news left for last speakers, except maybe something like tonight Vladimir Klitschko will defend his titles, but where? In Moscow. So we wish him good luck, and all the Ukrainian fans will cross fingers. Crisis, I don't, frankly saying, I don't like word crisis, and I think there were no crisis and maybe kind of dispute. But first of all, let me thank to Minister Pusic for this great opportunity to meet each other, to have this platform, to discuss most important things, most crucial opportunities. And let me say a few words about maybe some Ukrainian lessons we've got recently, some Ukrainian thoughts about to contribute, how to contribute to the Southern Energy Corridor. The actually thought that Ukraine cannot rely on a single energy supply is not new. We knew this for long years, for a long time, but actually, frankly saying, we didn't do too much for diversifying these sources. And result of this, some lessons we've got in recent years. First, yeah, let me also tell you one thing. So the original name of Urengoy-Pomara-Uzhgorod pipeline, gas pipeline, is Druzhba, means friendship. So, but first lesson we've got in 2006, it was a little bit before 2009, in 2006. First lesson was that the friendship and business is not the same. It was first lesson. But second lesson in 2009 was even more concrete, more hard, and it was that business unfortunately doesn't leave any room for friendship. And since 2009 we started to do something tangible, and we turn our thoughts, we convert our thoughts from just discussing to concrete steps. First step, maybe first and very necessary, delayed but still important step, was to make all possible efforts to modernize and reconstruct our GTS, gas transport system. It is very big, very long, very complicated, a little bit outdated, but still this GTS can supply, in present conditions, it can supply up to 130 BCM of gas to Europe today. If we find enough funds, actually full modernization requires approximately 5 billion euros. We can increase the capacity of our GTS up to 170 BCM. We can supply every year to European Union countries. If we add to these capabilities also a very unique and very important underground gas storages, which can keep up to 32 billion cubic meters of gas, it turned Ukrainian gas transportation system into the very important element of European security energy system. And of course it will require some additional steps and efforts from Ukraine. And we are fully committed to make these steps. So the lessons we've got from previous years force us to develop, as I said, our transit capabilities, But also we decided to move to develop our independence by using different instruments and directions. First is to increase our domestic production. So today we produce approximately 22 billion cubic meters of gas, but it is not enough for domestic consumption. Our goal is 30 BCM in 5 years. It is absolutely manageable, it is reachable goal, and we are very much committed to do this. Using, again, several ways and several instruments, both conventional and unconventional. So conventional, we increased our own resources. We bought several deep drilling platforms. We bought some technologies experts, and we started to do it by ourselves. In addition, we signed several agreements with companies which are well known and experienced in this area, including transnationals like ExxonMobil, and we welcome any other who are experienced enough to work in Ukrainian offshore. Also, we will develop onshore conventional gas, and in addition, of course, we have to develop as much as possible our unconventional resources. Some say that we have quite big shale gas deposits, more than 4.5 trillion cubic meters. But of course, we have to take care of several things which cannot be ignored. Environmental issue, which was mentioned during today's discussion, is very important, and we have to take care about the consequences of fracking. One of the most serious one is the water, and how can we supply enough water for fracking, and what shall we do with this water afterwards? What shall we do with used water, contaminated water, and how this water will behave after certain technological processes? We have to take care of this. Of course, we are monitoring very carefully what is going on in the United States. In Europe, our neighbor and friend Poland is a little bit in front of us. Poland started to do this several years ago, and they've got some positive and some negative results, and we would like to use these lessons and go ahead with most optimizing model of developing shale gas deposits. Also, we cannot afford ourselves to forget the kind of conflict of interest between energy and our traditional part of our economy is agriculture. So unfortunately the big parts or biggest shale gas deposits located at the same places where our agriculture is very developed. So, and we cannot simply sacrifice our agricultural business to the needs of developing energy unconventional sources. We have to take care of this. We have to take care of farmers, of this land, again environment, again technologies and some substitution for certain businesses in these areas, and etc. etc. This is one of our highest priorities. Alternative sources is another way of building up our energy independence. So our balance is the following. So we have 50% of our energy comes from nuclear. It is big part, and we are going to increase this part carefully, but increase. Also, we have launched not long time ago, but quite dramatically, we have launched a number of projects in solar and wind energy, and as a fact, we have now under construction in Crimea one of the biggest in Europe solar station, which will produce about 1 gigawatts of energy very soon, early next year. And we are very keen to keep going in this wind as well, and the target is to increase in our balance part of this alternative source, renewables, up to 10% within maybe 8-7 years. Diversification of sources and routes of energy supply. It is again another very important direction to us, and we are fully prepared for building our own LNG terminal. It's very very fashionable now to build LNG terminals. We decided to have our own terminal. At the beginning 5 BCM, with the possible extension up to 15, even 20 BCM, using module structures, because there are several kinds of LNG terminals, and we would like to use the updated technologies which are safe and extendable. Of course, we have a number of challenges with this regard. The sources of gas for LNG is one challenge. We count on Caspian gas, not only gas from Azerbaijan. Also, we count very much on the forthcoming and upcoming possibilities to get some extra gas from Caspian region, for instance, first of all from Turkmenistan, and we would like to, and we call for not underestimating Turkmenian resources and Turkmenian capabilities in this area. Of course, let me make a small remark with regard to this. Of course, to develop Turkmenian capabilities, we all together, European Union, transit countries and consumers have to work together, together with suppliers to get it happen, because between Turkmenistan and developing gas infrastructure lies Caspian Sea, and this small connection, reasonably small, 300 kilometers, between Turkmenian shore and Azeri shore is very difficult to pass, because not everybody is happy about this could happen. But Turkmenistan, frankly, has very, very huge potential for being important part of European energy security structure, because latest developments, latest confirmed developments, audits, showing that Turkmenistan maybe soon will be, if not second, but maybe third richest in gas nation in the world, surpassing, for instance, Iran or Qatar, having dozens of trillions of cubic meters of gas, which are very actively being developed, and Turkmenistan, of course, doing a lot of efforts supplying and diversifying export routes. For instance, as far as we informed, recently Turkmenistan agreed with China to increase its export to China up to 100 BCM soon. And they are talking about 6 lines, so there are already 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 lines. The 5th is discussed, is under construction, and 6 is under discussion, and soon it will take place. And to me, Ukraine and Ukrainian neighbors, European countries will be very much interested, should be very much interested in getting Turkmenistan into European market. By the way, let me, ladies and gentlemen, use this opportunity to invite all of you to do the conference, which is going to take place very soon in Ashgabat, 17-18 of October. As Turkmenistan as hosting country, Ukraine as a chairman in office of OEC. We together organizing this conference, energy conference, in Ashgabat, which is aiming at gather together suppliers, transit countries, and consumers, and sit down and discuss some of the issues related to what we are talking about now.
Thank you very much.
Yes, actually, yeah, okay. So maybe, yeah, we should leave some room, some space for questions. But let me just as a final words, let me say a few words. That we, in fact, we have a number of problems with gas supply, with gas transit, and etc., etc. But if we take some examples from neighboring sources of energy, oil and electricity, we have number of positive examples. We have a number of positive models. For instance, oil, we currently transit Caspian oil through Ukrainian territory to Europe. It's taking place, and no disputes, no crises. Actually, it's taking place, and we would like to extend the amount of this oil being exported, transited and exported to Europe. The second example is electricity, electric power. Ukraine now today is a net exporter of electric power. And we have a number of connections between Ukraine and European countries, and we have no problems at all to export and those countries to consume this energy. So we have number of positive results, good stories, success stories, and of course we have to use these examples and these models for also gas projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baiko has a plane to catch in 15 minutes, so I want to thank you now for your contribution. And after all these national policies and strategies, we go back to Brussels, to European Commission, Mr. Fabrizio Barbaso. It would be interesting to hear what do you think was crucial that Shas-Denis consortium supported TAP over Nabucco?
Yes, let me start by congratulating Croatia's government for organizing this event. Certainly 3 months after the accession, to put the attention on one of the most sensitive issues at the EU level is quite a sensible and smart decision. And I was struck, I have to tell you, by the level of knowledge and competence of ministers of foreign affairs in the energy sector, which means that altogether we have to address global challenges, such as security of supply, but also competitiveness of our economic systems, and to ensure a level playing field between the various countries, not to create a situation of discrimination or distortions of competition. The European Union is using a number of instruments in order to develop an effective external energy policy. I would like to stress two before replying to your question. First one is that it's not enough to have an internal market based on a common legislative framework, on network codes and so on, without setting up a network of connecting infrastructures. This is valid for European countries, but it's valid also for between European countries and the suppliers throughout the transit routes. And therefore, we have recently adopted a couple of instruments which will be crucial in order to support investments in the sector of infrastructures, in particular the missing links. The first one is a regulatory instrument. Investments in the sector of energy take too long time because of a number of difficulties related also to the degree of acceptance, of a lack of acceptance by population, and the complexity of these projects. So we want to have a kind of fast track for projects of common interest, which means that permits should be given in a period of 3.5 years, to be compared with a frame of about 10, 12, 14 years today. So this means debureaucratize and accelerate very much investments in this sector. And the second is to setting up an economic financial facility, which is called Connecting Europe Facility, with a budget of 5.1 billion up to 2020, which allows to fund throughout grants studies, feasibility technical studies, to have access to European financial instruments, and when it is needed, also to provide some subsidies for building new infrastructures which are strategic, but they don't have a sufficient valid commercial and business case. Of course, we have to assess that the advantages for the population, for the people, outweigh the costs of such projects. So you can see that we are focusing on promoting infrastructures and investments. In 1 week, 10 days' time, the European Commission will release the list of these projects of common interest. And in Belgrade, on the 24th of October, also the ministers of the energy community will adopt a complementary list of projects of energy community interest. And therefore, if you add up the projects European list with the list of the energy community, you see that it would be possible to have a network of priority regional projects throughout all Europe and linking Europe with suppliers. For example, if you take the Southern Corridor, all projects covered by Southern Corridor will be in the list of priority projects, including what will remain of Nabucco, because maybe Nabucco is not finally definitively dead, but the shareholders of Nabucco might undertake complementary projects, because we are convinced that there will be enough gas in the future to feed more than one pipeline. But I will come back. I would like to say a few words about the instruments of the external energy policy of the European Union, because you go from the soft power up to the regulatory instruments. Soft power, I mean very soft instruments, energy dialogues, partnerships with the supplier countries or with other big consumer countries like US, China, India. Then we have more binding instruments, such as treaty. Energy community is based on a treaty. These are obligations which have been freely taken up by all contracting parties together with the European Union. But these are binding obligations, such as the transposition, implementation, and enforcement of the EU acquis in the energy sector. Then we have another instrument which is very important, and this is the intergovernmental agreements, IGA. Why this is important? Because on one side, we have recently started with intergovernmental agreements which are negotiated by the European Commission on behalf of the European Union. I'll give you a couple of examples. First one is what you said, Minister Michael, is about the Trans-Caspian pipeline. We are negotiating with Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan the conditions to start the construction of a Trans-Caspian pipeline bringing gas from the Caspian countries throughout Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, up to Europe. Second is Eurobi, the agreement in the electricity sector between the Baltic states, Belarus, and Russia. But what is also even more important, as it has been said yesterday and today, EU countries remain free to negotiate their own bilateral agreements. But these agreements have to be in compliance with the rules of the internal market of the European Union. This means that even member states, when they negotiate an agreement with a supplier, have to take into account the common rules. And this applies throughout the energy community acquis, also to the contracting parties of the energy community. And I can tell you that I have seen a number of recent agreements concerning South Stream, which are not at all in compliance with the EU rules, neither with the third package, not yet transposed by the contracting parties, but nor with the second package. For example, in the area of tariff setting or in the area of third-party access. So, therefore, these are important instruments that we apply in order to support a common external energy policy. Coming to the Southern Corridor, why the Southern Corridor is so important that the ministers of the European Union for Foreign Affairs had a full debate on the 23rd of April on the Southern Corridor. Because it's not only about this 10 BCM which TAP will bring to Europe in 2019 or 2020. It's about opening an alternative corridor bringing much higher volumes of gas in the medium and long term from Central Asia, but not only Central Asia, Caspian countries, soon maybe other areas of production like Eastern Mediterranean countries, to Europe. So, TAP has been selected on the basis of commercial criteria by the Shah Deniz 2 shareholders, but this is the first step. So, what we are aiming at today is to try to negotiate with the TAP shareholders ways and means so that the gas which flows throughout the TAP can be rerouted to other European countries, not only to Greece and Italy, but, for example, an exit point in Albania. And this would allow to connect TAP with YAP, which the Commission has been supporting for years and years, and through YAP and the connection between Niš and Sofia, also via Serbia to Bulgaria, and, of course, to gas coming from Caspian countries. So, also because we have already one existing interconnection between Greece and Bulgaria, and the second one is planned. So, what is important, as I said at the beginning, is to build the interconnections. We have already some of them, but we have to multiply so that the countries, when they are all interconnected, whether the source of gas is throughout the TAP or in future maybe new pipelines, what is important is that once the gas reaches Europe, it can circulate freely, but not only in Europe, throughout the reverse flow, can be sent back also to Ukraine. This is already the case via Poland, via Hungary, and we are negotiating with Slovakia so that we can have even virtual reverse flow from Slovakia to Ukraine, and this allows also European companies to use this big reservoir of storage facilities in Ukraine. They represent half of all storage of gas in Europe, the facilities in Ukraine. So that's why, I mean, even if TAP has been selected, what is important for us today is to ensure the interconnections. And this corridor, which Croatia is promoting via Hungary up to Ukraine, is by all means supported by us, and we do hope that the agreement would be signed soon, and there will be other corridors, for example, between Greece up to Ukraine, or between Turkey up to Hungary. Therefore, I mean, it's important that we go beyond the pure source of the evacuation route of gas, and we transform the Southern Corridor into a strategic concept. Minister Michael has already stressed the importance in future of the reserves in Turkmenistan, but look also the potential of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Iraq, one day Iran, if it is pacified, And then again, Southern Mediterranean new gas fields, Israel, and of course Lebanon, but also in Europe, Cyprus. So this concept of diversification is key. It is not against Russia. Russia has the same concept. They try to diversify demand, we try to diversify supply. So we are interdependent with Russia, but nevertheless we think that by opening this fourth corridor as an alternative, we can contribute to improved security of energy supply in Europe, and this will be added to the LNG and soon exports also from the American market and even the Canadian market. They are prepared to build a LNG terminal on the eastern coast of Canada. And this will make the gas market more liquid, more transparent, more competitive, and in the medium-longer term become also a world or global market. Today is still a regional market, but it should become a global market. And the Japanese are working the same direction, because the Japanese pay today higher gas than we pay in Europe. In Europe, we pay 3 times the gas paid by the Americans. The Japanese pay between 5 and 6 times more. And this affects their economy, and they don't have many alternatives today if they maintain their decision to exit from nuclear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's 1 p.m. We have 15 more minutes. Mr. Baiko, I think you have to catch your plane, so I will thank you at this point. Or you'll stay with us for these 15 minutes more?
Five minutes.
Okay, so that's fine. You told me at 1, so I just remind you. Is there any questions for the audience or some comments? Before we finish, maybe I'll have one more question. We heard that there is Northern Network, Northern Ring. We heard also that Portugal and Spain are interconnected in basically one Iberian market. So maybe I'll put this question to Mr. Popovsky. When it will be possible to complete Western Balkan energy ring to have one common regional market here? What do you think? Briefly, if you can.
Very good question for which I'm afraid I don't have the right answer at this moment. It will definitely take years, even physically, to build such a ring. But these are things that you don't solve for a short period of time. I would say that we have to anticipate also what the world would look like if we need 5 years, let's say, to complete such a ring. What would the world look like in 5 years from now? That it doesn't happen as our Austrian colleagues suggested, that in Austria there was a case of building a nuclear power plant and then making a referendum that has failed. So they have a huge and expensive nuclear power plant that is over there and is not in use. So we have to anticipate what is going to happen on the energy market within the X years of completing this ring.
Thank you. And Mr. Barroso, you said that the European Commission supports this Ionian Adriatic pipeline idea, but we also heard from Croatian Minister Vrdoljak that countries in the region expect support from European Union. So what if that's not solely commercial project? Can there be some help from European funds in that project?
Yeah, one word on the previous question, because I think this is very important what you said, that we have to build a regional market in the Balkans, both for gas and electricity. In the electricity, we are setting up this CAO office, Common Action Office in Montenegro, but we need the support of all governments of the region, because there have been too many, how can I call it, hesitations so far. And the examples that you mentioned, that something which is working very well throughout the market coupling and so on in the Northern Europe, in the west of Europe, why shouldn't it work also in this area which had in the past a high degree of cohesiveness. And so I think that is something that really we need to speed up once again. So about YAP, I think that I cannot go much further than what Mr. Wrodzilak said, because I mean, politically, this project had already got the support of the concerned ministers. Many years ago, I remember a meeting on the coast. Yeah, I think it was in Montenegro, where all ministers met and they said, we want to support the YAP, we want to have it soon. But we need a business case. The business case we certainly have for a large part of the Croatian territory, but how can bring it down south and also eastwards to cross Croatia, which is also needed because they only have one supplier and one entry-exit point. I think that if we are able to demonstrate that this is a project of common interest for both the NGO community and also for the European Union, we can activate the instruments which I mentioned before. But of course, we, as a first step, we need to have confirmation of the political will to engage, and also what has been called the business case. Because I'm convinced myself that this Western Balkans gas ring is highly needed, and it can only be built with YAP. So without YAP, there will be no such a ring, and therefore the countries of the region will continue to be weakened in their supply by the lack of alternatives. If you look at the European regulation on security of supply in the gas sector, we ask all countries of the European Union to have 2 alternative suppliers, so that if ever there is a problem of disruption in one way of supply, the second one can enter into force and play its role. So if these countries depend only entirely on one single supplier, really they will not be able to reach a sufficiently encouraging and reassuring level of security supply for their citizens. So please, let's start to work together. Maybe we can meet once again in Belgrade on the 24th with the concerned ministers, and let's see what can be the steps ahead.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all our panelists. It was really interesting debate. In the end, I would like to ask Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Croatia, Mrs. Vesna Pusic, to give some concluding remarks and close the conference.
Do they? Yeah, they do. Thank you, Ilya. Thank you all the panelists. Thank you all the participants and panelists of yesterday and today in particular. You know how they say you're not supposed to have fun at your own party. But actually, we did. This was really interesting. I must say that I knew who was going to speak, I knew what the topics were going to be, and we were preparing for this for quite some time. But in the end, new things came out, interesting analysis, interesting new inputs, and probably more than everything else, the important thing was to, without any doubt, demonstrate how unthinkable, I would say, is to have an articulate and sane and focused foreign policy and international relations without energy and energy policy being part of that. And in that respect, I'm glad that we are sort of on top of things in the sense of not only following the trends, but I would say maybe quite close to the forefront of these trends. Potential for conflict that energy and the need for energy creates has been tested through history and proven as absolutely real and realistic, unfortunately. What we are to explore and have to continue working on is this potential that energy interdependency, the suppliers and consumers, markets of new regions that are formed based on flows of energy create. So using something that has always been there, but directing it towards and consciously leading towards using this interdependency as a basis for cooperation is something that I see as a very important task of foreign policy and international relations. The issue of regional integration versus EU or Europe-wide integration, what are the relations? Do they exclude each other? Where do they stop? How come that in some regions this is easier and in some regions there are barriers and what is considered a region is narrowed down to maybe 2 or 3 countries? It is obvious that in Southeastern Europe, on which this panel was focused, but which was sort of part of our debates in all the 3 panels, I haven't heard this level of readiness for cooperation or even enthusiasm for cooperation in quite some time. There is obviously a clear understanding to what degree the region of Southeast Europe needs to work together and cooperate if we want to make some sense out of the new energy security and energy policy realities. Also, it seems that however distant it seemed not so long ago, the European Southern Gas Corridor, that is, as far as decisions are concerned, reality now, is a new thing. It introduced new thinking, not only in individual countries, but in our European neighborhood and in the European Union itself. We always thought that it made sense as an entry point of gas energy for Europe as a whole, and in particular for Southern and Central Europe. And it does. And I think it has been recognized as not a win-lose project. It has to be recognized and I think also advocated and designed as a project that makes the cooperation of Europe and its eastern neighbors in the Caucasus closer, but also makes all of Europe profit from that cooperation, and also emphasize the great importance of European neighborhood policy. So we are going to persist here. We are going to pursue this topic, not only obviously as element or very important foundations for our economy, but very much as part of international relations and our foreign policy. I therefore thank all of you here today. I also want to use this opportunity to thank all my colleagues and staff from the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs who have put this thing together, made it work. It worked out great, guys. Thanks a lot. And you will see us again on this topic. Thank you.